I'd like to introduce you to Victoria O'Neill, our host for tonight. Victoria is not only a nutritional therapist, but she's done a lot of she's had a keen interest in the immune system, and she's recently joined Hifas, the Terra family. And she actually graduated from the Institute of Optimum Nutrition, and has actually over 20 years of experience in clinical practice. Victoria is also trained in clinical psychoneuroimmunology, and as well as she's an NLP practitioner. So I'd like to welcome Victoria O'Neill today.
Hello everyone, it's lovely to be here this evening. I'm very excited to be running through the webinar with you. I've recently joined Hifas Terra. I have a keen interest in immunology, and I have an absolute passion for the medicinal mushrooms. My favourite is the lion's mane, so I'm really, really happy to be here this evening. So this evening it's all about discovering mycotherapy, having a little bit of information about Hifas Terra, its cultivations and its mushrooms, and some of the products that Hifas Terra makes and go through its ranges. Introducing mycotherapy, which is the use of compounds from mushrooms as health-promoting agents, we can see how we can use these particular compounds and extracts in our clinical practices. There are key mushrooms with brilliant medicinal properties, and then we'll look through the cultivation, uses and dosages of them. Mushrooms have been with us for a very, very, very long time. They are, being on the planet, they are millennia in the making. They are our ancient friends in many ways. Mushrooms are believed to be living on the earth for at least 1,300 million years, which means that they have survived through various disasters, various volcanic eruptions and radiations and Lord knows what. And that's incredibly strong and incredibly adaptive. And what that has meant is that they have compounds in them that are super protective, and it's those compounds that we can take in and they help protect us. The origins of mycotherapy, well, they've been used for a very, very long time in Chinese traditional medicine. Historically, in ancient China, the reishi fungi were valued as a tonic herb and forbidden for the common people. It was only the royalty who could take it. There is a gentleman called Li Xinzan who's considered to have been China's greatest naturalist. He was a major contributor to medicine and dedicated 40 years of his life sifting through a vast array of herbal writing and information. And it was actually him who compiled the first book on mycotherapy, and it's been used as a pharmacia ever since. However, it wasn't all over in the East that mushrooms were used. Discovered in the Alps was a man called Otzi, who was nicknamed Otzi, and he's called an Iceman from the Alps. And 5,300 years ago, he was walking through the Alps and unfortunately died. We don't know how he died, but his frozen body has been examined and looked through. And what they found of super interest was he had a little pouch on him, and he wouldn't have carried very much in this pouch, and whatever he carried in this pouch would have been incredibly valuable to him. And they found 2 mushrooms in that pouch, and one of them was used as a parasitic mushroom. So he had with him a sort of antibiotic and natural parasitic medicine kit as he was walking through. In Europe, there are various mentions of use of mycotherapy, and doctors were using it in the 19th century to help fight tuberculosis. And of course, penicillin, first discovered as an antibiotic strain by Dr. Alexander Fleming, has changed medicinal history ever since, and that is really thanks to our mushrooms. So, as we've said, medicinal mushrooms have given us many important pharmaceutical medicines, from penicillin to statin drugs, and now, really, we're looking at anti-cancer treatments. In fact, 40% of Western medicines nowadays utilize mushrooms. And today, many of the top-selling pharmaceutical products are derived from mushrooms, as I said before. The statin class compounds such as lovastatin and simvastatin. And in Japan, the polysaccharides that are extracted from the coryllis mushroom, very specifically the PSK and the PSP, have been approved in the public health care system for digestive cancers. There have been multiple clinical trials that basically give credence to the fact that these mushrooms have got a very rich in active immunomodulated compounds, particularly the beta-glucans, and they're very, very, very useful for us in therapy and in our therapeutic practices. And I have a fantastic, interesting fact. As humans, we share half of our genetic makeup with the mushrooms and are affected by a lot of the same diseases and problems as the mushrooms. So, as I said before, we can actually take advantage of their super immune enhancing benefits. In fact, fungi are more closely related to animals than plants. The distinction between this is that whereas plants derive carbon from carbon dioxide in the air and energy from sunlight through photosynthesis, both fungi and animals derive carbon and energy by breaking down organic matter with enzymes. So in fact, we really are almost like brothers in arms. So in the last decade, there has been a massive amount of interest in and research in the pharmaceutical potential of mushrooms. And I think we can say, with a lot of gravitas, that we can say that they are anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, antimicrobial, viral, anti-allergenic, they're anti-diabetic and anti-tumor. And there is the scientific research that backs that up. And if we look at, the therapeutic arsenal of mushrooms, you've got the compounds such as the beta-glucans and the triptoperides, and they are, immunomodulators and anti-tumor. Then, of course, they're full of antioxidants. You've got the phenols, you've got the SOD, you've got the linoleic acid. B vitamins, you also have lots of minerals. There's chromium as well, there's zinc, there's selenium, of course potassium and phosphorus. And the fibre is a non-soluble fibre, so that means that it's absolutely brilliant for your gut and your microbiome. So now let's have a quick look at the mushrooms themselves. I am going to run you through the mushroom. This list is a list of the mushrooms that Hifas Terra uses in its various products. The top three that I've highlighted are the ones that I'm going to talk with you about today, and I think we'll be looking at the others in future webinars. Hifas Terra uses these mushrooms in their formulations. They have them as raw powders, like as superfood powders. They have standardized extracts, and then they have combinations. And I'm going to talk particularly about the lion's mane later, just a little bit later in this seminar. But just to run you through its main properties and mechanisms of action, it's renowned for the fact that it can regenerate the myelin sheath and nervous tissue, thus being really important with helping with cognitive decline. And then similarly, the beauty of it is that it can also regenerate the gastric and intestinal mucosa, which is just absolutely wonderful, because as we know, the gut and the brain are so interlinked. Probably the most famous of all the medicinal mushrooms is the reishi. He's the king. He's the one that's, he's absolutely brilliant. He's a super antioxidant. He's wonderfully anti-inflammatory. He helps reduce insulin resistance. He supports in anxiousness, neurological disorders, and also he's very, very good with people who are struggling to sleep. He can help calm everything down and help people get to sleep better and get a better night's sleep all around. And then the other one that people know all about, or if people know a little bit about mushrooms, they'll know about the cordyceps, partly because, it grows on a live caterpillar, which is, you know, quite interesting in itself. Cordyceps is the guy who is energy. He supports metabolic energy, the ATP access. He also can help improve kidney function and sort of pathologies associated with renal failure, and famously increases testosterone production. So very useful also for people who are elite athletes or enjoy a lot of sport. Then cordyceps is a very good choice for them. I would like to introduce you to Hifas de Terra. It's an amazing company. The name of Hifas de Terra literally means mycelium of the earth, and this company uses natural raw organic mushrooms as the basis of everything that they do. It has a specialized production process, and it delivers a pure extract with high concentrations of active ingredients. And when we talk about the lion's mane later on, I'm going to be talking about the lion's mane in the right Mycotherapy supplement range, and that's the range which is the range that you would reach for if you were going to be dealing with some chronic and difficult conditions. So mushroom cultivation. The mycelium is the non-fruiting part of the fungus. So the mycelium is the white, if you imagine it like lots of little roots, that is the basis of the animal, if you like. And then when a mushroom pops up, that's like its fruit. So if you imagine an apple tree, the mycelium is the actual tree, and then the apple is the fruit. So the fruiting bodies, the mushrooms, originate from the mycelium. And it's the mycelium that absorbs all the nutrients from the earth and breaks things down and communicates with trees and does all the other amazing things that these mushrooms do. Hifas de Terra has an extraction process that it carries out in its laboratories under strict climatic conditions, and it has a way of being able to preserve the levels of concentration of the active ingredients, the amino acids, the enzymes, the proteins, the polysaccharides, minerals and vitamins, so that when you have a Hifas de Terra extract capsule, you have got absolutely everything you need at the right level of concentration in that. What they do is they harvest and dry the mushrooms carefully, and then they powder them in a process that preserves all of these essential ingredients. And that powdering process is adjusted for each mushroom. Hifas de Terra uses these natural organic mushrooms, and it has a specialized production process. I visited the Hifas de Terra farm out in Galicia, and it was absolutely amazing. What you can see is these beautiful, you've got these beautiful chestnut trees, and then you have some wooden logs that are sort of lying around in the forest, and it's these wooden logs that get injected with the mycelium and then kind of just get left for 9 months, and then 9 months later the residue or whatever gets harvested and then taken into the laboratories and made into the product. It's an amazing thing to see, and that guarantees the organic status of these mushrooms. I just wanted to talk you through understanding the concentration levels, because I think that this is one of the key things to the Hifas de Terra products. There are an awful lot of other mushroom companies out there, and they're all, I'm sure, very good. But I think it is really only Hifas de Terra that can make this claim on the extraction of its mushroom complexes. So, for example, if you take some reishi powder, you would need 15 kilos of reishi powder to make 1 kilo of the microsalud extract. Or putting it very, very simply, if you look at that mushroom powder and superfood on your screen right now, you would need 15 of those capsules to be equivalent to 1 of the microsalud capsules, which is fantastic, and that's why we know that these things are therapeutically successful. Now then, our lion's mane here, this is what the Mycotherapy lion's mane product actually looks like. It's a concentrated 6-to-1 extract from the lion's mane, and lion's mane is used basically with memory, cognitive dementia, Alzheimer's, and because of its affinity with the gut, it's also with all sorts of gut issues such as leaky gut and Crohn's disease and so on. And then our Reishi, he's at a 15-to-1 concentration. He's anti-inflammatory, absolutely brilliant for cardiovascular health, really good at bringing down blood pressure, a super antioxidant, and he's known as mushroom of eternal youth. Very good with anxiety, insomnia, and actually also very good for prostate health. And the cordyceps. This one is a 4-to-1 extract, and it's used for kidneys, for the geo-urinary support system, and the cardiorespiratory support system as well. There is a lovely link between the lungs and the kidneys. So I would like to just go a little bit more now on the lion's mane and my absolute passion for this mushroom. It has an affinity to the brain and the digestive system. There is something called the gut-brain axis. We know that the gut and the brain are connected directly via the vagus nerve, and that it's a bi-directional communication between the central and enteric nervous systems, linking the emotional and cognitive centers of the brain with intestinal function. Putting it simply, you know, when we're stressed, we're not hungry, for example, and you feel stress in your stomach, and then, we always say that, oh my gosh, I'm really stressed, it's in my stomach. Also, if your mood is low, then, there is a change in the terrain of the gut, and they speak to each other all the time. Now, the lion's mane and his scientific name, I'm never going to pronounce this properly, Hericium ericeneus. I hope that's good enough. He's got some fantastic compounds. So the first part of his name, the hericenians, they can induce the production of nerve growth factor, which is really important for us because that stimulates neuron renewal and protects the myelin sheath. And the hericenians come from the fruiting body of the lion's mane. In the mycelium, there is another compound which are called the ericenians. I'm really hopeless at that pronunciation, I'm so sorry. And that is also considered to be active in the stimulation of the nerve growth factor. So you've got something that comes from the mycelium and the fruiting body that stimulates nerve growth factor. And critically, these molecules are small enough to pass through the blood-brain barrier. And there is evidence that they also can increase the myelination of the sheaths. This means that therapeutically, and especially the microsalud, we're talking absolutely about the microsalud range now, the mycoleo, you can use it for really serious nerve degeneration diseases such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, senile dementia, and cognitive impairment. And I personally have had remarkable success with a couple of Parkinson's patients and a couple of patients with multiple sclerosis and this mushroom, and it's been really humbling to see how these people have responded so well to this mushroom. Other clinical trials indicate that there are compounds in it that are useful for sort of all other nervous sort of pathologies. It has an adaptogenic action against stress and insomnia, and it's got a role in peripheral neuropathies, so especially those related to diabetes. So again, something that a tool in your cupboard, something that you would take out if you had a diabetic patient. And there's been some research on laboratory animals that has proved that it's got some action against retinal degeneration, which is a common cause of blindness. And again, it might be useful again with the diabetic patients as well. Now our hero, he he not only helps mend our brains and keeps us sharp and keeps our nervous system healthy. In traditional Chinese medicine, he's been used for treatment of gastrointestinal ailments. And this is because he has the absolutely amazing ability to regenerate the mucous epithelial membranes. And this property to regenerate the epithelium contributes to the recovery of gastrointestinal tract imperviousness, so like leaky gut, and the restoration of our healthy microbiome. This ability means that it's massively useful for gastric and duodenal ulcers, any chronic inflammation, irritable bowel, Crohn's, leaky gut syndrome, and any sort of endotoxemia of the gut. It's the gut is one of our direct organs that links with the outside world, and it's very, very easy for it to get inflamed and run down, and that is where all diseases will start from some sort of chronic inflammation, and it's often in the gut. So if you've got something that can help heal that, then it's really worth having a look at it. There is not the microsalu range, but Hifas Terra, I just want to quickly add this in. They do have a powdered lion's mane, which is a superfood product, and you can sort of use a scoop of that to add to your smoothies, and that can be really useful in constipation or slow colon transit. This is because it's working on a prebiotic level on the intestinal bacteria rather than the structural function of the mucous membrane. And just some other functions of lion's mane. Along with all of the other medicinal mushrooms, he's got anti-tumoral compounds. He has polysaccharides that help regulate the immune system. And nutritionally, if you ever find him in a shop, he's high in protein, mineral, and particularly high in selenium and zinc, rich in the powerful antioxidant superoxide dismutase, which prevents cell degeneration. And if you ever come across him and think that you would like to take him home and cook him, he's utterly delicious and has a flavour similar to lobster. So, quick overview, you've got digestive pathologies, we've spoken about them. Basically, anything you think that you need to heal from a digestive point of view, lion's mane can do it. And then also the neurodegenerative pathologies. And if you have got somebody with cognitive impairment or MS or senile dementia, then of course at some point they will have had a leaky gut or some sort of digestive issue. So you are always basically killing two birds with one stone with lion's mane. And just to quickly throw a couple of hopefully useful protocols in there. For leaky gut syndrome, you would look at you'd look at 3 of the microleo a day, morning, noon, and night. You would look at the Myco5, which is a immune modulator, and you'd want 2 of those in the morning, and then you'd want the Ascorbo, which is the product that's made by Hifas Terra, which is a vitamin C product with some olive leaf and other compounds in it. And the reason that we like to take the Ascorbo and say it's a good idea to take it 5 minutes before you look after take your mushrooms is because it makes the body absorb the beta-glucans and the terrasinoids and the other active ingredients of the mushrooms, and it can help absorption for up to 40%. So it's absolutely worth taking that, and we agree. We think that's really good with all of the protocols. So that's a leaky gut protocol, nice and simple. Oh, there's some information on the Ascorbo HD. Sorry, I'd forgotten that was in there. Also, just to say that if you have a sensitive stomach or gastric ulcers, then don't take the. It might not be a good thing for you to take the Ascorbo. We then look at an irritable bowel. Here we will be looking at the micro ray as an adaptogenic, anti-inflammatory, and immune modulator. You're looking at the Mycoleo to heal the gut and repair the gut and the nervous system. And again, the Myco-5, which are immunomodulators. And then, if you can tolerate it, the Ascorbo 5 minutes before, which will help with the absorption. And here's the protocol that I've used very successfully with Parkinson's disease. We were looking at 2 Ascorbo in the morning, Myco-Leo 2 in the morning, and then also 2 of the Ray in the morning. That worked incredibly well with one particular client who actually said that she had the first night's sleep that she'd had in years with this protocol. So that was, you know, a very, very nice thing to hear. And we're just going to look at that's just some that's just a scientific study that we've attached that just looks at well, you can read it, the inhibition by the fungal extracts. And a little slide here, which is just, you know, popped in, which is just why Hifas Terra, and that, you know, we'll talk you through, you know, it's certified organic, the capsules are manufactured in an oxygen-free environment, and they're sealed. There are no drug interactions between the mushrooms and other, you know, pharmaceutical drugs. The mushrooms are raw, you've got the extracts, you've got, they're vegan, the clinical trials behind them, and Hifas Terra has a negative carbon footprint. So they plant over 80,000 trees, and that's just a quick overview of how lovely Hifas Terra is. And finally, we'd like to say that we do have a practitioner discount if you sign up, and you can get full support. So if you sign up to become one of the practitioner associated with us, then we give you training sessions, we give you access to the latest research, we give you as much data as we can, and we have a team in London that will help with client protocols and guidelines. So I think that's me. I've run through the presentation. I hope that was useful. Obviously, any questions or anything that you would like further information on, we've got a little question session now, if that's okay.
So thank you, Victoria. That was a very good walkthrough of the introduction to mycotherapy. And I think that what was fascinating for me was just discovering a little bit more about some of the research you've done specifically on lion's mane mushroom. I think we've got 1 or 2 questions that have come up for lion's mane, so I thought, why not go with that first question? So I'm going to ask you the question. Feel free to answer, and I can complement with that. So the question is, someone has asked if lion's mane can actually be used when studying. So you had mentioned that it's been used for cognitive functions like Parkinson's disease, the protocol that you gave us. But can lion's mane help us to improve and give a mental boost to us?
Absolutely. Lion's mane contains these herosonomes, which stimulate nerve growth factor known for enhancing memory function and supporting synapse formation. There are clinical trials regarding the action of this mushroom, and they also indicate its usefulness in several nervous pathologies, from adaptogenic action against stress and insomnia to its usefulness against Alzheimer's and Parkinson's development. Stress so often comes hand in hand with studying, so lion's mane would be absolutely perfect here.
Great, thanks. So it's useful to know that lion's mane is not just used for, some of the chronic pathologies, but people who need concentration, who need to just boost their cognitive functions, can actually use the lion's mane mushroom. So another question that came up, since you mentioned ascorbato, is the following question. Is ascorbato recommended to be taken before all the extracts, as well as the onco range? So I think this person is aware that we also have our oncology range here at Hifas Terra. So aside from the extracts, do they actually need to take it for the onco range?
Yes, we would definitely recommend taking the ascorbato with our extracts. It helps improve the bioavailability of the active compounds in the mushrooms. The ascorbate not only contains vitamin C, but has other components such as potassium, antioxidants, which work well together toward the better assimilation and absorption of the beta-glucans. But it's not for the onco range, because in the onco range, actually developed inside the product, it has a camu-camu as a base, which is a natural vitamin C.
Okay, great. I don't know if any other questions are coming up, so I'm just going to have a quick look. But if you are asking anything, this would be the right time to ask questions. Apologies for that. I think there's someone's phone is ringing here, but yes. So I think we're coming to the end of our presentation today. But there's one question, and I'll answer it since it's a question for Hifas at Terra. Someone asked if we offer any discounts for nutritional therapists that are students who are currently studying, and it's an absolute yes. So the discounts that we offer here at Hifas at Terra are not just for nutritional therapists, but those who are studying as well. So if you are studying, please feel free to email us at health@hifasaterra.com. Do send us a copy of your, if you don't have a certificate and you're studying, just send us, a copy of, evidence saying that you're actually studying at a specific college. And also, if you're particularly interested in our in understanding mycotherapy, we also have specific trainings for mycotherapy, and we also do one-to-one sessions. So if you'd like to say there's one particular mushroom that you're interested in, do feel free to call us up at Hifas at Terra or email us at health@hifasaterra.com. And one of our nutritional therapists would definitely speak to you and walk you through that specific mushroom and how to use it in protocol. I think one of the things that really, really touched me when I first heard about the mushrooms and I was starting to use them in my clinical practice was that they have absolutely no interaction with any medication whatsoever or other supplements. So I would really, give you, I would encourage you to just experiment with some of the protocols that Victoria walked us through today. The one for IBD, IBS, Alzheimer's, even if you know someone in your clinical practice who has these chronic conditions, why not experiment and give it a try? Because you know that there's going to be no harm done by taking the mushrooms. So I would really encourage you to just give it a try and see for yourself. We have one more question coming in here as I was speaking. Someone asked how we can get a copy of the slides. So in a couple of days, you will be receiving the recording of this webinar as well as a copy of the slides that you have here so that you can read them in your own time. We will also be posting some of the questions, so don't hesitate to ask us the questions now because this is our cutoff time. I think as you know, we have another webinar coming up on Wednesday, and that's also a very interesting one called How to Beat the Stress This Festive Season. And this time we'll have nutritional therapist Linda Sims, who will be walking us through some of the key mushrooms to be used in practice for different conditions related to stress. I'm sure just like me, a lot of you might be stressed in this Christmas and New Year season, so it's not all mulled wine and fun, but actually can be quite stressful, trying to coordinate your agenda and trying to finish up and wind up the year. So definitely do join us on Wednesday, 13th of December from 6:30 to 7:30, so it will be an hour-long webinar where we'll be taking you through some specific protocols and specific mushrooms related to reducing stressful symptoms and adjusting and balancing our cortisol levels. I don't know if Victoria had a few more things to say before we leave you.
Just to say thank you very much, and yes, hopefully we'll connect up again soon.
Thank you so much, Victoria. Thank you all. Have a great evening and see you soon, and we'll definitely send you the recordings. Feel free to email us if you have any questions that come up later, and we'll be more than happy to walk them through with you. Take care and have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.